oh my gosh, so now he goes around the house being like, it's for your toast, you little prick.
Welcome to the Rewatchers on the pod, where we watch podcasts. My name's Mitchell Marshall. I'm here with my co-hosts.
Tyler McKinley.
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler Harris.
Justin Hammer.
And me. Oh, wait. I already did that. Okay, sure. All right.
Mitchell's his own co-host.
I am of two minds. We'll blame the wrong things on the wrong mind. This week, we're doing a new thing where we watch a movie that it's kind of like one of those seminal movies that this is kind of what we did with Sorry I'm Late, now that I think about it. That, like, we should have seen this and we never really did. So this week was Tyler McKinley's pick, and tell us a little bit about why you picked it and present it, because I haven't said it.
Well, in my household, we definitely weren't allowed to watch rated R movies growing up, and we definitely weren't allowed to watch 80s movies growing up, apparently. So it's kind of like my parents just skipped that decade. We had movies from the 70s and we had movies from the 90s, but nothing from the 80s. So
Sinner's decade.
Well, I guess this movie was from the 90s, wasn't it?
It's 90 or 91, right?
No. Maybe late. Yeah, maybe. Let me look it up.
think
I'll
it's
look it up.
late 80s.
Anyway, yeah. So
It feels 80s enough.
But, like, growing up, well, when I was younger, I was like, oh, yeah, action movies are stupid. Because, I mean, some of them are. But as I got older, I kind of realized there's, like, a self-awareness to some of them, and that there's value there. And everyone then started being like, oh, yeah, man, Die Hard. How's a grown man never seen Die Hard? And so then I felt like my masculinity drop, lower than it already was. And yeah, and so I was like, well, I got to do it sometime. And then this came up, and I was like, sweet, let's do it.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen Die Hard, let me give you a quick summary here of what happens. Kind of. I'm not very good at this. Cops used to be able to have guns on planes. The Nakatomi Christmas party is lit. Bruce Willis is predictably too busy for his family, but they have the best nanny. The nosy limo driver asks all of our questions for exposition. The separated couple has sexual tension-filled reunion that turns into a regular tension-filled reunion. The bad guys have arrived. They shoot the security desk guy. Unnecessary flashbangs shoot the elevator concierge, and then the hacker hacks real good. Goatee Snape is in the house to bust up the party. Bruce only has a gun and a tank top. Let's go. They are stealing missiles and money. Hans Avada Kedavra's Mr. Takagi after failing to break him to get the code. McClane tries the fire alarm and takes down one dude and uses his body to send a message. John McClane nip slip alert. The dead guy's brother is big mad and the cops don't believe Bruce. Gunfight on the roof. Barefoot Johnny slathers around the air ducts. The father from Family Matters is also a police officer in this film, and he asks to check on the building but gives the all clear. Bruce kills two more hoes and throws one onto the squad car. Hans and Bruce have a sweet little conversation where Hans reveals himself as quite anti-American. The cavalry and the TV people are here. Badass wifey Holly arranges a couch and potty breaks for the hostages. The police chief is an idiot with a bad plan. Johnny McClane drops some C4 down an elevator shaft. The FBI is here, Johnson & Johnson, a family company. Snape runs into John and is pretending to be a hostage, but the former Mr. Demi Moore isn't fooled. A gunfight fight ensues. William escapes, but his feet get cut. Power is shut off. The bad guys get into the vault. Johnny finds a big old stack of C4 and has to fight the angry brother. He wins, and this time he sees dead people until he comes back alive later in the movie. The dumb reporter who exposes Holly is on TV and revealing to everyone that she's his wife, therefore screwing her over as a hostage. John fire hoses off the roof as it explodes, but the FBI guys are dead in their chopper. The limo driver takes out the hacker. In the climactic confrontation, Bruce pulls a gun taped to his back and caps Gruber before tossing him off the lightning-struck tower. They have a bloody makeout reunion because love was the element they needed all along. John leaves Holly for the sergeant, who pops one more cap in the undying Nazi bro's ass. A little croaky today.
I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I do just want to bring this up immediately. We made a lot of jokes during the Skyscraper podcast about how it's just Die Hard. Man, that movie is just fucking Die Hard. Even down to, like, moments where he's, like, hanging out of a window by a bar that's barely wide enough. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How?
Like the
feel
cop
like-
on the outside who's like the only cop that trusts him.
Yeah.
The Rock just wanted to remake Die Hard, and they couldn't get permission.
And do you know what? If you are at the point where you can be like, I exactly that, you can walk into a place and be like, I want to make Die Hard, and they're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Good for you, I guess. I shouldn't be
We'll
so
call it
jealous.
Skyscraper. I mean, the Die Hard series is kind of dead, so he could have just been like, look, Bruce, let me just take the name, and we'll call it Die Hard in a Skyscraper.
Yeah, just
Die
call
Hard
him
in a
Bruce Willis.
Skyscraper,
Bruce.
a.k.a. Die Hard.
So the biggest question about Die Hard, I think, is who died the hardest?
Oh, that is a good question.
You thought I was going to ask if it was a Christmas movie.
I mean, I feel like that's a clear answer.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any debate about that.
Blonde German dude.
Yeah.
Literally died and came back. Like,
Let me tell you guys a little story about that blonde German dude.
Okay.
So his brother dies at the beginning,
grew
right?
up
And he's
together,
super
or-
pissed. Yeah, we grew up in Mother Russia together.
damn it.
He is
Somehow
Russian.
you offended white
Let me
people.
yeah. Go. Please,
So
please.
he is a famous ballet dancer from Russia.
Oh, wow.
And he came over to the U.S. to dance, and then he didn't want to go back to the USSR because it was rough times. So he decided to defect, and then he got in some fishy business for it, and the KGB tried to come and take his wife. And he was stopped. And later on, there's a movie made about this. And then a little while later, his wife's like, I wanted to live in Russia anyway, and she leaves him. And then he becomes an alcoholic and dies of alcoholism-related issues and hepatitis. I don't know A, B, or C. But he like, that dude legitimately, that was his life. And he was just a ballet dancer. He only appeared in like 10 movies. And after this movie, he's like, hey, I don't want to play a dumb brute again. And he was like, I also don't want to play a ballet dancer, which I was really like, maybe he was that old guy in Black Swan. I don't know. But he is dead.
Dang it.
But what a fascinating, but
crazy.
he does die very good and kind of multiple times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, man.
Definitely multiple times.
That's still like one of those scenes that every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I forgot. Oh no, it just hung. But yeah. As far as like obscure Die Hard trivia, I do just want to get this out of the way too. Do you guys know who was originally considered for the part of John McClane in Die Hard?
So there was a long list
Schwarzenegger,
that I saw. But
Stallone. I'm just going to throw out all of
The
the.
very first person the studio had to ask was Frank Sinatra.
What?
Because
I literally just listened to "Fly Me to the Moon" with my daughter
Did you
before
really?
coming over here. Yeah, and told her had to tell her who Frank Sinatra was.
yeah,
So
so Die Hard is based on a book, and they actually adapted it in the, I want to say in the 50s or 40s, into a movie called The Detective, and Frank Sinatra played John McClane, and part of his contract was that if John McClane was ever portrayed on screen, he had rights to first refusal. So as a legal like thing, when they were making Die Hard, they had to call up Frank Sinatra,
How
who's like
old was
60
Frank
years
Sinatra?
old
Oh my
probably,
gosh.
and be like, hey, would
So-
you like to play John McClane again?
Frank Sinatra was born in 1915. Somebody do some quick math.
Oh shit! So
The
he's
movie
way
was shot
older.
in 1987.
Okay, so he's like 73.
Yeah.
72. Yeah.
Can you
Damn.
imagine how awesome that movie would have been?
He died in 98, so this would have been
Can you
a bit
just
stretch.
imagine? Just close your eyes and just imagine Frank Sinatra crooning "Yippee Ki
This would have turned into a musical, a soft, nice musical. So there are a couple things from Die Hard I knew before I watched it, and that included the scene of him with the lighter in the duct, and then him saying "Yippee ki motherfucker." But that was always presented to me as like this big angry line. He's like "Yippee ki," like with a machine gun, and that's not how it is at all.
Yeah, no,
a little
no.
disappointing.
Yeah, it's weird that
it's
that's
better
become
that
the
way, though.
catchphrase
You're right.
of the series because
Yeah.
it's really.
Does he say it in the other?
It's better this way, where it's just a quick quip, like a response to him. And, I don't know,
and it's
so
a
much
response
better.
to Hans like saying, "Oh, you're just a dumb cowboy."
But then somehow that becomes things he says later in other movies, which is stupid.
It
Well,
is.
it's because it played well with the audience. They were like, all right, we're going to make another one.
That's.
Which I mean, it was good, but was it that good of a line?
I would like to use it in some death-defying moment. Yes. Next time I bungee jump, I might just scream it as I fall.
Oh man, like I mean, there's definitely things like I feel like I should have known about this movie that I didn't. I didn't know that he did the whole damn movie barefoot.
Oh,
Like,
Yeah, and you don't. There, I wonder if there are scenes where they're like, "Well, we're going to shoot this, and they're not really going to see your feet," because it is crazy to think that even on a set where they could really keep it clean, like that he was just barefoot that whole time.
yeah, that'd be weird. That would definitely be weird.
Sean Astin stepping a broken bottle in the river.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
even with all those hobbits. It is interesting. Bruce Willis before this wasn't that famous. He was TV famous, but not even like a TV star. He was star of a show called Moonlighting, and you talked about Stallone and Arnold. Those are the two big names because that was what was big in the 80s. This did come out in 88, by the way. So they were looking for that, but it sounds like they asked like Harrison Ford, Richard Gere, like smaller people. He was like the last choice, and I wonder if it becomes a sequel. Like, and now they say, well, it's great that he's like more of an everyman, but I really wonder if the whole thing goes well, if it might just be another dumb Stallone movie. No offense. And this director did direct Predator, so you already had a relationship to the kind of this overtly masculine 80s movie trope. Yeah. But good for Bruce Willis. He's gone on. I was looking, his IMDb is not as good as I remember. I don't know. I prop him up higher than I think he actually deserves to be.
Were you remembering the kid?
I thought about the kid while watching this movie. I was like,
Oh, you know what I remember about the kid is the kid that plays the younger him was like a child star in a couple of big things and then disappeared. He probably does math.
He was on 2.5. Isn't that the same
Oh,
kid
it
that was
is
on 2.5
him.
Men? No,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe
Oh, is
that's
it?
a different kid.
We'll Google it.
Yeah.
But the kid on 2.5 Men, like,
That might be. I
is
think it's
making
different.
just millions of dollars for doing nothing now.
Yeah.
And I think he became like a super big Christian. And so he had a really hard time telling all the sex jokes in 2.5 Men. And I was like, sell your soul for like 2 more years for your contract, my dude. He never has to work again with syndication money.
True.
What's your favorite Bruce Willis movie, Justin?
Probably Red.
Oh, that is a good movie.
That's
Yeah.
decent. Yeah. I like Red.
I don't think I've actually seen the second one.
I forgot there was a second Red.
Yeah,
probably
there's
okay.
Red
I sound
too.
like on an
Hey,
airplane.
Helen Mirren's in Red.
Yeah. Red is a different meaning for me. I only watch certain scenes. Oh, my Helen Mirren fetish has gone too far.
Yeah. Gwen, do you have a favorite Bruce Willis movie?
Am I allowed to say Red too?
Yeah,
That's the only other one I
Wow.
can think of.
That's fine. Yeah.
Tyler's?
I don't know what my favorite one is.
I'm trying to think. I mean, he's in some Wes Anderson movies.
That's
Oh,
true.
that's
So
true.
Moonrise
Like,
Kingdom.
Moonrise
yeah.
Kingdom I like a lot.
Yeah.
Looper's great.
I was gonna
Looper's
say,
really good. I
love
mean, and he
Looper.
is the headline. I mean, he's an equal headliner with JGL in that one.
he's great in Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
So good in Pulp
Oh
Fiction.
yeah! Wow, I can't believe I spaced on that one.
Yeah.
The kid was Spencer Breslin, who's the older brother of Abigail Breslin.
That's right.
And he was also in Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat. And
Mike
You
Myers
Wish?
breakout
What's
role.
your favorite Mike Myers?
Princess Diaries
Love Guru.
2. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that kid. That would suck when you're a little bit famous and then your sibling just hit. Like, sorry, Dakota Fanning. Maybe you should have done Super 8, you know? Anyway, let's get back to
let's talk
Die
about Die
Hard. I really enjoyed Die Hard.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about Die Hard is we learn the valuable lesson and the relief of a cop who accidentally shoots a 13-year-old
God,
kid
yes.
Oh,
Some of
yeah.
this
who
is
can't
not
use
aged
who
well.
can't use his gun again. Learns how to use his gun again, and we now all feel safer for it.
It's such a bummer. That, man, it had been a couple of years since I watched this, and like, I had kind of forgotten about that, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And it's such a bummer because the rest of that relationship is so beautiful, and like, that is like one of my favorite things in that movie. And
I think it makes it worse that that's like his arc at the end. Is
Yeah.
like, I've conquered this. I can now shoot people again. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best.
And the ending changed a couple times, and Bruce Willis was actually shooting Moonlight during the day and this at night. So
so he was moonlighting as an actor.
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. But they shot a lot of scenes like with the cops and even like with the maid and stuff that weren't actually, and there's only 2 of her. I don't know. But they shot extra things because they were like, there's more we're going to work with because they weren't sure how they wanted to end the movie when they first started. But man, that's a long day. They said the first thing he shot was when he jumps off the building with the fire hose. What a stressful day to get done with moonlighting. And then day 1 of playing this character, they put a dirty tank top on you. and you have to leap off of a building onto a pad.
Yeah, it's good times.
But it's a little wild. Yeah, his arc does work. Their relationship, I wonder if that grew throughout that, because they probably talk a little bit more than they should for a movie of this formula. Sure.
Well, I think the thing I like most about this movie is that I feel like it's a pretty good example of people making smart decisions. Like Hans Gruber and John McClane are both very smart and do like very smart things. And John McClane isn't trying to kill all the terrorists. Like that's not
his primary.
Yeah, that's not his job. His job is to end the situation. And so like that stuff at the beginning, just like, I mean, he just sits in that room for a long time, before he encounters anyone again and all that. But I think that this movie does such a good job. I think it might be why this movie was so popular when it came out, is that there's not a lot of like bullshit in it. I mean, there is. It's an action movie from the 80s. There has to be a
2 hours and 12 minutes. But no, you're right in that even though he is kind of just hiding, there does seem to be purpose in the things he's doing. And one thing that I originally was like, they can cut this, it's kind of annoying me, is the whole reporter angle. But that they had to have that to make Holly a hostage, and her being a hostage, we all knew it was going to happen. We all knew that. That's what makes it interesting, is they're trying to outsmart each other, and Hans doesn't even know that the biggest chip he has to play against this nuisance is right there, and waiting to see how he's going to figure that out was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like, a little bit smarter movie than you might think, because now I think this followed an action formula, but a lot of other movies are now following, not as directly as The Rock, but a lot of movies... Well, The Rock knew that the building was going to blow up. We didn't really know that was a danger in this one. Yeah. We didn't quite know what the antagonist's goal was, but I love how influential this is. It's like when we watched Blade Runner, like so many more pieces connect from seeing this.
I think that was sorry, go ahead.
No, you got it.
I think that was a problem for me watching, honestly, because I've seen so many action movies that were influenced by this since then that I don't want to say I was like a little let down by this movie, but I mean, in all honesty, I kind of was, just because I was expecting things to be more wacky and more wild, but just because of what I had seen since then, which I don't think is the movie's fault. I think that's just my personal life situation and how that worked out. But yeah, I think that you can definitely see its hand in other movies, not even just action movies, just big blockbusters in general. I feel like this is pretty influential.
And this was kind of a last-second thing. They were just like, we kind of need an extra blockbuster. And the original writer just wrote it because he was really poor. He's like, I need money. And then D'Souza ended up rewriting it, and it changed a lot of things. I think originally it was like over 3 days. And the way that he figured out that Hans was a German was because he had noticed that all the guys he had killed were wearing Tag Heuer watches. What a great look for a company. And apparently there's a shot early in the movie where they're like showing that they're all syncing up their watches to know the timing of the explosives and stuff. But I think this turned out better for the rewrite, but it does make sense that this was kind of, it seemed to come together other than casting the main character pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's awesome. I will say I always feel very gross at the feet stuff in this movie. I like to joke this has got to be in Quentin Tarantino's bottom 5 easily. Just even for the scene of him outside with his bloody feet pressed against the window, cannot rub Tarantino in the right way. But
or maybe
does he have a
Tarantino
foot thing, or
liked
does he
it?
have a not foot
Tarantino has a foot thing.
We gotta watch some Tarantino.
Not a man foot thing, not a bloody foot thing.
But maybe he likes all feet, not just beautiful feet. Maybe this rubbed him in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Could be. I don't know. I mean, he does love blood, I guess.
He does love blood.
I mean, that severed leg in Death Proof is like one of the most convincing severed legs I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
There's a Wikipedia wiki page. Man, I'm struggling. A wiki for anytime somebody's feet have appeared on screen. No. There's like a place. Feet. Yeah, wiki feet. It's like you can go and vote on the quality of the feet. So I wonder if John McClane's bloody feet, like this specific, like
I'll look it up.
I wonder if that has.
God.
Let me log in. I haven't used my password in a couple weeks.
2020 starts to make a lot more sense when you learn about what's going on in the internet.
You know what God knows.
Well, I'm pretty sure now it's almost like a porn site because they're like, if an actress has put her feet on Instagram, they're now on her wiki feed.
Oh, God.
An actress too. I'm sure there are some people who find men's feet attractive. I don't.
God.
Yeah.
Wiki feed is taking a while to load. Maybe their servers are just loaded up because everyone watched Die Hard last night.
Speaking of wastes, Argyle. I had high hopes for Argyle, man, and he didn't pan out.
I mean, he punched the hacker guy.
Yeah, it felt
Does
like
the hacker guy
It's
live?
so much
'Cause he hits him with
energy,
the
though.
car
it felt
and
like
punches
that
him,
wasn't
but-
written until the end. They're like, oh shit, we didn't do anything with Argyle. We gotta
All right, fair.
have
Yeah.
the hacker dude escape here.
I think they
but-
said-
I mean, I kind of love, though, that Argyle just spends most of the movie sitting in a limo talking to a stuffed bear.
that is why
That's
I wanted
pretty fucking
more
great.
for him because he was so enjoyable.
He
And-
was. He's like the perfect amount of annoying where you like wanted him to come in and help in some way, or like once he realized what was going on, they could have communicated in some way. It could have come back in a little bit nicer. Let me give you guys a WikiFeed update. Bruce Willis does not have a profile on WikiFeed. I'm a little disappointed. But here is the latest update to WikiFeed. Here's the header, and it says, "Hey everyone, I'm thinking of creating a WikiFeed dating app, but I'm not sure how to make it appealing to women." Dead serious. That's the headliner on this website. Oh, don't worry. I did
I
it.
hear that's
98 to quit the human race.
I was in incognito mode. It's okay.
I mean, that's at least 50% of a dating app, right?
Yeah.
So women being on it?
I love it because the foot fetish is like such honestly a really tame fetish, but everyone is revolted by it. Like
I'm someone who
people would like rather talk about some
It just here's the thing.
sketchier shit.
It just
than-
feels so fucking aggressive. Like, here's the thing. You can have any fetish you want, but like, I don't want to normalize a wiki page full of feet, that are labeled, and like, people are like, man, who's your white whale? Whose feet do you really need to see? Like,
What fetishes do deserve their own wiki, Tyler?
They don't. That's
I
want to
hear this
saying.
list.
You don't like wiki
I
spank?
know,
You don't like
I'm
wiki
fine.
whip?
I don't want those. I don't want those.
You don't like wiki golden? No, okay, I'm stopping.
I think the weirdest thing about the wiki feed thing is it just feels so invasive. Like it's just such a like. Gotta comb Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh man, you can barely see it. Well, I'm gonna clip it and put it in wiki feed.
I mean, I don't have a foot fetish, but the Instagram thing did push me over. Like I was like, all right, burn these people.
I wonder if they should make a website called Only Feet, and it's like OnlyFans,
Oh,
but
no,
just for
fuck.
selling your feet.
Isn't that basically what OnlyFans
Yeah.
is now at this point?
I'm sure on
okay.
a lot of things, yes.
Yeah, here's the thing. If the people whose feet are getting the hits are benefiting and consenting to that and are like, I'm going to make some money off this, fuck yeah, good for you, do it. But WikiFeet feels fucked up. I'm going to put my foot down on WikiFeet.
Just make sure it has a sock on it.
It has,
It'll be fine.
I'm wearing a boot. I'm wearing a boot when I step on WikiFeet.
I mean, that's a totally different thing.
It's not a
Wiki
spiked
boots.
heel, so I know that's a fetish too.
You know how WWE superstars were recently told they shouldn't have like cameos or make money from
Yes.
Instagram? Do you think they're allowed to have Only Feet? Have you ever wanted to know
I
what
need
the
to see
Big Show's
Brock
feet
Lesnar's
look
feet.
like? Let me tell you,
Always wrapped up in boots.
So the taller you are, I think, for men, the uglier your feet are. And I say this purely from being in NBA locker rooms, because Kevin Durant's feet are the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And I wonder if there's a market for that. No,
Holy shit! Can you post this on our NBA, please?
I don't. I just my
I
name.
just want a top
Anonymously.
10. I just need a top 10 worst NBA feet.
I didn't look constantly, but I noticed his first shirt. And I was like, whoa, those are. Oh, but I think that just happens when you get to a certain height.
No, he's like twice as big as all of us. And he's going to come kill us.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with
he's
the
also
fact that
very
they're
Would be
sensitive.
listening to our podcast just to see if he's mentioned too.
He does
I mean, I'm
reply
gonna
to.
tag him.
He replies to like 13-year-old douche kids tweeting at him. So maybe if I say, "Hey, we did a little segment on you in your pod. Will you listen
on your feet.
and send pics?"
We talked about you on our Die Hard podcast.
Talk more about Kevin Durant's feet than we have Die Hard.
Do you want to be? Shoot Hard or Die Hard will do a sequel where you're barefoot the whole time, and we'll get to see your big ugly feet bloody against a window.
It'll come with a disclaimer. This dude's feet are fucking ugly.
Okay, Die Hard.
My feelings are so hurt for Kevin Durant.
You shouldn't. He's a sellout.
Okay, well, I don't know anything else about him. So.
He's a kind person. Probably. I don't trust anyone who makes over $100 million. I just think they're automatically into something sketchy.
That's why it was so hard for us to become friends at first, because I was so rich.
Tyler, if you were rich, things would be so different. Oh, my God.
I'd be kind of upset that we were in my basement.
I'd be like, you didn't want to pay for this studio time or build studio out?
No.
Wow.
It's in escrow. That's just my excuse for 30 years. Yeah, I mean, I got a fuck ton of money, but it's all in escrow right now.
I've been watching.
Fucked up.
I've been watching some real estate shows, and which you'd think would be up my alley, but has never come to my attention before. And let me tell you about escrow.
Yeah, you want to explain it to me? Because I have a mortgage and I still don't understand it.
It doesn't apply to all home purchases. It sucks.
Let's talk about Alan Rickman.
Let's do it.
Rest in the most peace.
Rickman's first movie as
his
well. He was on TV, a lot of British TV,
Really?
and did a British movie. He recorded a British movie before this, but it was released after this. And I bet those people who made that movie were like, when they saw Die Hard came out, they're like, fuck yes!
Yeah.
Oh, we got him for so cheap, and now he's in our movie that sucks that we're releasing a month later.
I wish I could think of an example of this, but I know there are often will be a movie will hit it big, and then someone who's in another movie but only as a supporting character will get a ton of publicity and put on the cover of things, even though they're not that big of a part of the movie, just for promotion.
Yeah.
I hope that he had 10 minutes as like a passing best bud in the pub, and they acted like it was his love story, and then he's just not in it.
Well, I think about like Cabin in the Woods, because Cabin in the Woods was finished like years before it was released.
Oh, right,
'cause it was
right,
finished
yeah.
and shelved, and then Chris Hemsworth, who was in that
Avengers
movie,
beforehand.
was in Thor, like became Thor, and then they were like, I guess we could maybe make some money on this. And they finally put it out, and it's a great movie. But yeah, that stuff's so interesting.
Tyler, do you have a performance of Alan Rickman's that you think people might not know about that you enjoy?
Probably not.
I do.
Go ahead.
Do you?
There's a YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know if it's one video or if there's a series of them. It's Alan Rickman doing angry things in slow motion.
Oh,
And
yes.
There's like one where he just throws a glass at the camera. That's it. And it's like 4 minutes long because it's that slow. And oh boy, it is a treat.
I mean, I will
incredible.
say, like, if you haven't seen Galaxy Quest,
Oh,
Alan Rickman
yeah.
in Galaxy Quest is fucking amazing.
Which also shows his range, because my
Yeah.
dude does like this Shakespeare and stuff, this period piece stuff, where he's just so good.
Galaxy Quest is low key like a really fucking good movie.
It's so good.
Like
Yeah, I agree.
no irony there whatsoever. Like it's really good.
He's in a movie with Mos Def called Something the Lord Made, which was like an HBO TV movie in the early 2000s where he plays a heart surgeon, and Mos Def is essentially a black guy who's not really allowed to rise to that ranks, and through Alan Rickman's character, he ends up being able to help to actually pioneer the increase in being able to do a heart replacement surgery. And I just remember I watched it when I was way too young to appreciate something like that, and I was like, this is really good. And Mos Def was also in Italian Job, and I was like, these two things are not like each other, but I love them, and I'm going to start listening to Mos Def, and the music didn't click with me as much at that age. But shouts to Alan Rickman.
Okay, if Mos Def hasn't clicked with you, you should just listen to Mos Def, the album that he did with Talib Kweli. I think you'll dig it. That's the
I'm
good.
going to
that's the
Googleize
Mos Def
that
album
later.
you need to get
Never
into.
heard of it.
Did you ever see that Alan Rickman movie, the CBGB movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, isn't Ron in
I
that?
wanted to. Yeah, Rupert Grint. I think Rupert Grint is in that
I
as
think
well.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that.
I never heard anything about it. I just saw the trailer and I was like, I'll watch that shit. But then I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like that I haven't seen almost anything he's in because now he passed in 2016. I can go back and experience him again and again, and I'll
You don't feel
never
like you're
stop watching
behind?
Harry
Is that
Potter.
what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't have to binge the Alan Rickman to catch up before the next
He's
thing
not
comes
adding
out.
new things to it so you don't feel overwhelmed. It's a very
I'm
manageable.
constantly
chunk.
behind. Okay, the streaming wars are real. There's too much to watch. What are other elements of the? What did you guys think about the action in the movie overall? Is it well shot, well made, lots of fun? Approvals?
I mean, I alluded to it earlier. Like, I was expecting kind of more bonkers stuff, but that's just because I think more special effects budgets of the movies I'd seen since. Whereas this, I mean, did some cool stuff. Like, there's some practical stuff they had to do that would totally be digitized now.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Well, that explosion was real. They had to spray him with fire retardant, and when he jumped off the building, because they're like, you probably won't catch on fire, but it'll be really
did he do
hot.
the stunt?
Yeah.
Oh,
and that
wow.
thing is,
and that's his first fucking day?
yeah.
Good.
This movie had really strict stunt rules because a movie a couple years before, like 4 people had died on. So the action movies in this time actually had really strict, especially if you shot in the U.S., you had like really strict rules for your stunts. So yeah, Bruce tried to do as many of his own stunts as he could.
I do know Hans Gruber's fall at the end. Alan Rickman had to do that, like a 15-foot fall or something onto a pad, and he was extremely nervous to do it, like death, just horrified. And they're like, don't worry, we're just going to count to 3 and drop you. And they just went back and just dropped him immediately.
And that's the reaction.
And that's the reaction. Yeah, the reaction.
It looks very genuine.
Nice shot.
The reaction is great right there. Yeah.
Well, these days you would drop a stuntman and digitize the face on him if a star didn't want to do it. Like you also have certain guys who would, but I think even then you're not thinking of Alan Rickman as like an action star.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But he is so good.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a blast to watch in this.
Something I do like, and Tyler alluded to it earlier, is that Hans is not one of those villains that's like magically in the know of everything the good guy's doing and like able to just like work his way around it. And on the flip side, Bruce Willis's character is also not like, I mean, he's fucking Bruce Willis unkillable still, but like he's never like this omnipotent like chess move ahead of anyone else. It's everyone kind of figuring out each other, and that's really cool.
That's rare too in movies now. I feel like there's not not that this movie's cerebral, but there's not that same type of back and forth. One has the advantage and the other one's the underdog, or someone's too powerful. I would even say like his stunts, there's only a few that I'm like, that's unrealistic. The jump in the elevator shaft, probably jumping off the roof with the fire hose, but there wasn't all this Fast and the Furious, which I love, stuff where you really couldn't believe that this was a cop who might be especially a little bit more badass and athletic that could do this stuff. And so for them to go back and forth and him to just be using that, I love the discussion he has with, I don't even remember the name of the guy now.
Carl Winslow.
Yes. The discussion they have at the beginning where he's like, it's very clear that this guy's a cop just from the language that they use.
Yeah.
And later the sergeant just come over. He's like, he's just a cop. I just have a feeling. I'm like, it's so interesting that us who doesn't know cop lingo, like you figure that out immediately. I think that's an efficient way to do it. Because there are a couple moments in here where they just give you exposition. Because like I said, it is still a long movie, but I don't think there's a ton of wasted space. Because I wanted to cut the TV reporter, but you also have to create the hostage situation.
TV
And
reporter.
you get the gag at the end of him getting punched and be like, did you get that?
I gotta defend journalists for 1 minute because it's just
They're bloodthirsty. They're only in it for the story, Mitchell.
remember Godzilla, like the worst of all time. Like reporters, there are some fame-hungry reporters, okay, but they are not that. Oh man, they're really careful what they put on air, and just a lot of movies, especially rom-coms. And movies like this where it's a token person, they just put reporters in a bad light.
I mean, but don't they earn that for, like, I feel like for every Frost Nixon or Spotlight that comes out, you earn
that's
yourself
true. There
like
are, like,
20
some
just
hero
shitty
movies.
portrayals.
I mean, like, how many times do they go, like, get invasive in someone's life and it doesn't pan out, you know?
True.
Like,
Hey, in the love movies, it does come out because they're going to write an
Nightcrawler.
article about how they're about love, and then it turns out, oh, that happened in that Love Guaranteed movie.
No, yeah, he
Respect
is
the
like,
journalists.
He's such a is such a cartoon like thing in this movie for
very
sure.
Mass
It's not my
Effect thing,
favorite.
yo.
Yeah.
get punched the reporter in all 3 Mass Effect games. That reporter though, he's in Ghostbusters, but I can't remember what his role
I'm
is in
trying to
Ghostbusters.
remember.
Is he the mayor? He's not the mayor. Is he the
No.
museum host?
I think isn't he one of the agents that comes in at the end and is like,
No, he's at the beginning because he's the one that Bill Murray does that dickless joke with.
oh, you're right. I literally watched this movie in theaters like a month ago and I can't remember. It's pretty disappointing.
Well, speaking of like random cameos, there's the guy that's in the sewer that they're trying to get to cut the power, who is the neighbor
Yeah.
from The Burbs.
He's Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Is it
right.
Bob?
Hold on.
Whatever. Anyways.
Art.
Art, yes.
Oh, the birds.
Art's got
Yeah,
a gun.
he's like in the manhole. I'm like, I just saw him and I was like, oh, hey, it's my friend.
Well, yeah, that's my neighbor.
He eats an entire something in that movie. What is it?
Oh, God, I don't even remember. This is good.
It
Good.
was like
I cannot remember
over
anything.
ribs out of that
Yeah.
his neighbor's house. I'm like, what a fucking asshole.
So, let's do a couple of quick fun facts that I still have, because this movie has a ton about it. And then I want to talk about the expanded Die Hard universe that I think we can continue here. So first of all, the woman who plays Holly is the aunt of the Culkin brothers, Macaulay and Kieran.
I knew it. I knew it.
Loved it.
Wait, who's Kieran?
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
He's in Scott Pilgrim. He's in the Succession, which is a really big show now. He's in a show called Kings.
Signs, the boy in
Oh,
Signs.
okay.
Yeah. He looks like Macaulay.
Yeah, he does.
But he plays a certain type of snark, and he plays it really well. So the director of this also, like I said, did Predator, The Last Action Hero, Hunt for Red October, The Thomas Crown Affair. So he went bankrupt. But let me tell you why. He was in prison for years.
Fun fact.
For committing perjury, because when he was directing a movie called Rollerball, he was wiretapping fellow producers to see if they were trying to sabotage his vision for the movie.
For Rollerball?
Yeah. The remake in 2002, not even the OG Rollerball in 75.
The remake of Rollerball?
Which, by the way, lost like $100 million counting marketing costs. He also has 4 ex-wives, and it's suspected he wiretapped 2 of them, and those are part of the perjury case because he lied to the FBI about it.
Did he have a specialty in wiretapping? Like, when did he learn?
Well, that's the thing. Once they found out he did it once, they saw all these other situations where they're like, dude's watergating people.
God. Oh, man. I need to read more about these people because this makes me feel so much better about my life. Oh, man.
But are the highs worth you losing your... He lost his ranch, went bankrupt. He directed like a commercial last year, and that was like his first work in 15 years. It is... Yeah.
Was it for
crazy.
the NSA? It's cool.
Maybe he's doing like the Catch Me If You Can thing where he's like, well, now that you caught me, now maybe I can work with you. I'll produce some vids. I'll help you understand if people are wiretapping, even though that's like 50-year-old technology now.
You just got to listen for clicks. If you hear clicks when you pick up the phone, that means you're being wiretapped. Like, we know we're the ones doing it.
On the Bruce Willis front, one, he kind of has a... When he thinks, he kind of looks like Zoolander. 2... I forgot he's in movies called The Sixth Sense and The Fifth Element. Like, what else could he add one more on to?
He should have been in The Fourth Kind.
Oh,
should have been, yeah.
And I just made that weird connection between those two things because I wanted to reference both of them in my summary. And those are both exceedingly mediocre movies that I really enjoy.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of people are probably mad at called Sixth Sense mediocre. It's good. It's just overrated.
Yeah.
Tyler, tell us what we should be expecting from the other Die Hard movies if we want to continue our journey.
I mean, Die Hard 2's fine. Die Hard 2's pretty good. I mean, here's the thing. Once you're making multiple of these movies, you just make it. You're doing a lot of the same shit. You know, it's that successful. If you are familiar with Lethal Weapon at all, Die Hard 3 might be interesting to you because that was the script for Lethal Weapon 4, and then they couldn't get money to make that, so they're like, we meant Die Hard 3, and they're like, now you're talking. Let's get Samuel L. Jackson in here to play this character.
Have you seen the 2 modern ones? One came out in 2007.
I have
and then 13.
I've seen the Justin Long one.
Yes,
I have not seen
2007.
the one after that.
So it goes Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard in 2007 with Justin Long. The first 3 were all pretty close together, and then A Good Day to Die Hard in 2013, where apparently his son is involved.
Yeah,
and
Mary Elizabeth
Winstead
Winstead does play his daughter in the later Die Hard. So if you love Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I guess there's a reason to watch 10 minutes of a new Die Hard movie.
If you were to rank the Die Hards, where would Skyscraper fit in?
Ground floor, probably.
But
maybe just below Argyle's limo.
I think they need to reboot this, and it needs to be like Argyle's son versus Hans Gruber's son. But this time, it's a boat.
This is a giant boat.
Well, I mean,
like Speed 2.
I was just going to say, Speed 2 exists, and it's basically Die Hard on a boat.
Oh, man, Die Hard on a bus? Let's props to Speed. That was a good idea.
I mean, Paul Blart Mall Cop is Die Hard in a mall.
Wow.
It's the same plot.
So I have been trying to learn to run because I hate it. And so I go to the gym and they have a theater room, and so I'll just walk or run in the theater room, and whatever's on, I'm at the mercy.
Are you allowed to walk or run in the theater room?
So there's treadmills. There's treadmills.
It's cardio cinema. I'm familiar. I'm familiar with the concept.
All right, he's in the groove. So Paul Blart Mall Cop was on. Spider-Man 3 was on. I just have to watch what's there.
And
Paul Blart 2 was like, I had to look up why he broke up with the chick from Paul Blart 1. And it's
that
because
was covered in the comic
Jayma Mays
books.
was busy shooting Glee. But you watch some bad movies when you just have to do it, when they pick for you.
Would you say that watching Paul Blart Mall Cop helps you run because you want to get out of there?
I just want to be a mall cop. I've literally
pretend like you're
never
chasing
ridden a Segway.
People thieving the mall.
Me neither, actually. Has anyone ever heard of
I have.
Oh, man.
How'd that go?
Look at this guy.
I don't really remember. It was
Give us
like
your Google review
senior
of
year of high
Segway.
school, I think.
Oh, wow. You
Yeah.
were in on, like, early.
Yeah. I
Segway.
can't remember.
OG.
One of my buddies, his parents or older brother maybe got one. I don't remember. I can't remember who it was.
The only time I've considered them is for like tours. Like they have them up at like Ashton Gardens, and then here's a sad story. One time my family was supposed to go to Mexico for Christmas on Christmas Day because it's actually not a bad day to fly, and the travel agent the day before called us and told us it's not going to happen. We didn't lose any money, but he turned out to be sketchy. But we had a tour on Segways planned for some city in Mexico. I don't even remember. I tried to block it out of my mind.
At first, I wasn't sure if Segways were going to tie back into that.
They
story.
came back.
I was just
They came
excited to
back.
hear that you could finally get that off your chest.
They do
'cause
that.
does sound
They
bad.
have that Segway tour in Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
I'm
right.
thinking, man, what a sad. That's where you're going to go on your Segway tour, San Francisco.
It's
It would have been
beautiful
pretty
city.
badass to go on a Segway tour this past week when it looked like
gosh,
the world
jeez,
was
when it
ending.
looked like Blade
Off-roading
Runner.
Segway.
I was in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and it honestly, my mind was completely thinking differently because of The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Like, it made me look at the houses and, like, the gentrification completely differently. Any other thoughts on Die Hard?
I really love the FBI agents.
Oh, I forgot.
Like,
Johnson?
That's another
Yeah, the
thing that could
Johnson
happen.
guy.
Vietnam joke is the best.
Yeah. I was.
Oh, yeah, what does he say?
Just
I
like
was in junior
Saigon. I
high.
was like, I was a junior high, dickhead.
They probably could have cut those two scenes, too, but that was worth it.
Yeah,
it was
that's
that
a good
funny.
joke. It's a good joke.
When they died, I was like, did they really just die? What?
I think they're
Just both
credited
up
as
in the helicopter?
Big Johnson and Little Johnson,
Yeah,
which
they
is
are.
hilarious.
Agent Johnson here. No, the other one. It's just
Special
like
Agent
the
Johnson.
dumbest shit.
No relation.
Gwen, what was your overall enjoyment level of Die Hard?
I'm adding it to my Christmas list.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
As in you want it for Christmas?
No, I'm gonna buy it, and it will be. I'll watch it around Christmas
When you set up
along
your
with Home
tree.
Alone.
The beginning of the movie made me feel like we got a little into it. I was like, this feels like a Christmas movie, but then it abandons it just enough. Like, I know it was a Christmas party and everything that I was like, okay, I get why there's an argument here, but I would gladly watch it around Christmas.
Do people normally have their Christmas parties and like work up until their Christmas parties? Is that like a normal thing at other companies?
I don't know.
I think so. I think it's not always there, but I think it's very common to like have your Christmas party on a Friday night and everyone kind of leaves a little early on Friday and then shows up.
Look, I was told by my CEO at last Christmas party.
I was at
that-
your last Christmas
Oh
party.
yeah, you were. Do
I
you
went
remember-
with my
do you remember him
ex-wife to his
saying, he's
our
like-
rival companies.
He was like, I'm going to tell you what my boss told me. He's
Yeah.
like, you can never make your job at the Christmas party, but you can ruin your job at the Christmas party. And yeah, I think that applies to this movie wonderfully. Because what's his face? I can't remember the sales
Ellis.
dude.
Yeah,
Ellis.
Coca-Cola.
I make $1 million
Yeah.
deals all the time.
Yeah, have you guys ever met anyone like that in real life? Because whenever I see someone like that in a movie, I'm like, there aren't people like that.
I've
There's
seen
some
what
sales
he,
guys with some pretty similar vibes to that.
They
man that I've
legitimately
met.
think they could talk down a terrorist.
Yeah,
I guess if we're
actually
talking
believe it.
like Vivint Bros.
yeah. That's
Okay.
and that's absolutely
All
who we
right,
are talking
all right.
about. Yeah,
yeah, and
same,
I
same.
yeah, I literally
people.
talk to them every day, and it's
Well, now that you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I talk to them too.
Give any of
Yeah,
those
true, yeah.
Mormon Vivint bros around here some cocaine, and that's what you're gonna get.
Also, anyone on Wolf of Wall Street, you think a terrorist takes over their building, they think they can stop them for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, Leo might be able to.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, I don't doubt anything that man could do. Okay, I saw Interstellar.
True. One shot I do want to call out that I don't think I've really noticed before. Maybe I've noticed it, but just not appreciated it. Is when after Holly goes in and talks to Hans Gruber and like organizes the bathroom trips or whatever, as she's walking out and he's like, "What's your name?" and she gets the fucking greatest hero shot in this movie, probably, of just like turning authoritatively over her left shoulder right next to her name on the office door, and she just says, Holly Gennaro. And it's just fucking. I was like, that is a good shot, and it's just it's kind of like almost over the top, but I love it so much.
Could have used more crash zoom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I kind of wanted her to say Holly McClane.
Gotta save that. Gotta save that.
I guess we probably know from the future movies. Do they end up together? Do they stay together?
No, I don't remember. I don't think so. I think in 2 they might be, but then by 3, that's just like, I'm too addicted to fucking fighting terrorists now, so...
Yeah, how does he keep getting in these situations?
I kind of like that. It's very realistic.
It's like getting struck by lightning. Like, once it happens, it just keeps happening.
Yeah. Once you're a New York cop that gets involved in something like this, it just keeps finding you.
Dude, I love how it keeps shitting on, like, California cops. Like, they're, like, some lesser cop than New York cops.
Well, that's why, like, Paul Blart is actually more realistic, because in the second one, they don't attack another mall. They attack a mall cop convention in Vegas. Shot at the Encore on location. We are presented by the Wynn Foundation. Okay, I'm just kidding.
Thanks.
A mall cop convention.
That's really what it is. It's great. At the very end, he has, like, a mall cop super team come together.
I mean, you know, at a mall cop convention, they are getting fucked up. Like, if you're a mall cop going to a convention, you're fucking going all out.
And let me tell you what, if
like
you're a
just
female
everyone
mall cop, you have the best selection of 4s and 3s in history when you go to the mall cop convention. Because none of those guys are getting laid. You could get whoever you want.
Hey, can we talk about, I feel like Paul Blart Mall Cop was born out of that Mike V video that Kevin James did with him forever ago, right?
I'm pretty sure that's
Everyone
what
should
started.
go look up. Just go watch the Mike V on YouTube, because
just Google Mike V.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see some great fight.
You're gonna have
videos.
some punk video. You're gonna have him fighting people outside of a 7-Eleven. You're gonna have him pushing around Kevin James' shitty mall
I used
cop.
to think Mike V was the most badass dude in the world. I was like, dude, I want to be Mike V. Then I got to be an adult. I'm like, Mike V's a child.
Mike V should be dead.
Mike V, though, I mean, to be fair, he's fighting other assholes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But man, he takes on like 3 guys outside that 7-Eleven. Takes his shirt off first, and like within 4 seconds, he's got all 3 of them on the floor. It's great. But yeah, anyway, he does something like Paul Blart.
Kevin James was in like a horror action movie in a serious role as a villain this year. Like it came out on VOD during COVID. I won't pay for it, but I'm very curious to watch it.
Yeah, seems interesting.
Let's see if he can make that transition from Adam Sandler movies to that. You know,
I mean, Adam Sandler did it. I mean, he still is doing shitty movies, but he also will just, you know.
Hey, Hubie Halloween, he just looks terrible. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Die Hard before we do some recommendations?
I think I'm good.
I'm glad we finally watched this.
Yeah,
it's a seminal moment. It's important that I did. I am probably going to watch all of them.
Good.
I'm a completionist today for this. Okay, sounds good.
How do we end this part?
Justin, next week, what do we? We're going to continue with movies that we kind of missed out on, that we have always been missing from our catalog. What movie are we going to watch for you?
So I have decided that I want to watch Psycho. Yeah. I'm starting to get into like kind of the Halloween sort of like scary movie vibe.
Spooky season.
Yeah, I think I need to get to Psycho finally.
Cool. Very excited. Do you know anything about Psycho?
I do not. I mean,
I literally know there's someone in a shower. That's it.
That's
You
it.
have
I
not
know they
seen
use.
Psycho.
I think I actually had to watch it in high school for a film class. I don't remember it at all.
Okay.
At
When?
all.
I'm assuming you haven't
I've seen it.
You have. Okay, great.
Psycho is
I'm excited.
really good.
Yeah.
This will be
It's
our
like
second
surprisingly
Hitchcock movie.
good based on that it's like a black and white movie. Most people think like, oh, I have to like pretend this is kind of good and find the things to appreciate, you know? But like this movie, it's like, I don't know, I'm not super well versed in the movies of that time, but like I feel like it must have revolutionized like some camera work stuff and editing.
I mean, I feel like that's the story of a lot of Hitchcock's work through like the 50s and into, because Psycho was released in 1960, so like the black and white is actually like a stylistic choice, because everything was moving to color at that, you know, had already moved through Technicolor into color film at that point. So
What's the difference between Technicolor and regular color?
Technicolor is like a post-processing thing.
It's like they paint over it.
Yeah.
It's like a pain in the ass.
That's like Wizard of Oz is like
You're right,
Technicolor. So
Please don't shame people who pretend they're sophisticated because they like black and white movies, because let me tell you, I'm one of few people who stands for the artist winning Best Picture. We'll be right back with our. No, that's a pretty shitty move of me.
Okay, but there are scenes in The Artist. Mwah.
Yeah,
I like The Artist.
I like
people
it too.
who aren't used to people. It's also silent. Like so to see
Roma?
their use of. I did. Yeah.
Okay.
That's also beautiful. I also like the black and white version. I think it's not the best version, but I like the black and white version of Mad Max Fury Road, which we got to see in a theater, which was really
that
cool.
was cool. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, black and white's not bad. I just think with The Artist, because it was such a different viewing experience, but it still gave me all the same feelings. I was so impressed. But there also weren't that many good movies that year, so it's actually not that big of a sin that it did win.
Gave me a huge crush on Britney Spears, though.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I probably could have looked at a picture of Britney Spears and be like, okay, yeah, I have a crush.
I like
on
it when
now.
it kind of sounds like Britney Spears.
It's
It's like the French Britney Spears. Britney Spears.
I'm trying to get like like I'm 3 glasses of wine in, and I'm just like that sexy voice that I get. You know, you guys know the one.
Yeah.
Britney Spears, you.
Okay. Tyler, if people want to find us online, where would they do so? In a French accent.
If you really want to find us, you can email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter or Instagram at rewatcherspod.
I love making you do that. I just makes me so happy. Okay, we'll be back with some recommendations. Welcome back to the Rewatchers on the pod. We're going to recommend some cool shit. Tyler Harris.
So I finished The Leftovers this week, and I'm not going to talk a lot about The Leftovers, but god damn, I really like The Leftovers, and
Does it end strong?
yes,
In
fucking
the last
incredibly.
3 weeks, how far has Damon Lindelof moved up your human rankings?
That's exactly what I was going to say is Watchmen and The Leftovers have really made me turn a corner on Damon Lindelof in a way I didn't think I ever would. But man, they are both such incredible pieces of television. I feel like those specifically give me a very specific idea of what Damon Lindelof is, instead of just like J.J. Abrams that does TV still. Because I feel like that's probably how I thought of him. But man, yeah, Leftovers is great. I'm probably just going to start it again because there's so much to unpack. And it's great. Like, the great thing about Leftovers is it's only 28 episodes long, which really isn't a lot for like, when you're talking about prestige TV like Breaking Bad or The Sopranos or Mad Men. Yeah, all of those like are over, around 60 to 80 episodes. But this, man, it's just it's great because every season they thought it was going to be the last. So honestly, the season finales that I like in that show, I'm like, if there was no more Leftovers, I would be fine with this being the ending because it feels satisfying. But in a way that's like, but if you're offering up more, yeah, I'll take some more of that.
So what you're saying is it's exactly like Scrubs.
I wouldn't have made that analogy. And certainly not later Scrubs, I don't think. But
I think that was
yeah.
the problem. They kept getting picked up after they kept doing. There were so many season finales of that show that were like, "This is the end."
That's true.
Oh shit, we got picked back up. All right, let's go.
But yeah, Leftovers is really great. I love it a lot. I've also been. Let me double check the name of this. I've been watching an HBO Max original animated series that I just forgot the name of, but it's by the guy who did Regular Show for Cartoon Network. And Regular Show is kind of like, it's one of the weirder cartoons I've watched because it's like on a kid's channel like during the day, but it's very obviously made for 30-year-olds who are like, remember when you just fucked around on a keyboard for like 3 hours a day trying to play Zelda songs or something? Like, that's the guy who's making this. But he made an adult cartoon. I believe it's called, I'm looking up now, Close Enough. Yes, it's called Close Enough, and it's just about this married couple in their 30s who have their first kid and kind of have their midlife crises together, and it's really hilarious. It's basically the same style of animation as a Regular Show, but they're all humans instead of like birds and gumball machines and a man with a giant head. I don't know what Pops was. Anyways, it's really good, and I've really enjoyed it. But yeah, HBO Max, I'm fucking loving it. I think they've got a lot of good stuff. The last thing that I started... Oh, I've got two more things. Sorry. Both HBO Max things. I started watching Lovecraft Country, which I think you mentioned, right?
I mentioned interest, but I don't... It hasn't been on the top of my list, but I'm curious to see what you think.
So how is it?
I love it. It is a phenomenal show.
How far are they into it?
I think they're 4 episodes. I'm only like 3 in, but I think I have a couple more to go. But man, the first episode of Lovecraft Country, like, you just blew your whole first season of ideas in the pilot. Holy shit. But man, it just keeps coming, and every episode is just so like densely packed with cool lore. It's so much of like the Lovecraft lore that I have like. You're kind of always thinking, man, this would be cool to see on screen, but they do it in such a smart and like thoughtful way. And the guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy from Last Black Man in San Francisco, the friend, he's like the main guy in it, and he's phenomenal. I love him. But yeah, that show is really great. I also watched the first 3 episodes of Raised by Wolves.
Shit, that was one of my things, dude.
Is it? What do you think about Raised?
Yeah.
HBO Max.
You need to get HBO because I really want to do Raised by Wolves.
So I watched all 5 episodes that are out.
Okay, I'm caught up.
I've watched the first 3, but I'm not worried about being spoiled because I'm very on the fence about it. So if you want to say whatever.
Oh man, I am kind of blown. I'm shocked I like it as much as I do. Just because from the advertising, I was like, this didn't. The visual aesthetic I saw like advertised to me, I was like, I don't know. It looks kind of weird and like budgety but fuck, man, it's really cool. And like about halfway through that first episode, I was like, I don't know where they're going with this, but like by the end of that, I was all in. Like it's wild. It's so much more epic than I thought it was going to be, and that I expect from a sci-fi like TV show. I mean, I know we're talking about HBO, but like,
and Ridley Scott,
yeah. But you know, it's like it's one of those things that I feel like I've been burned by stuff like that before, where it's like a big name is on it, but then you're like, oh, they're a producer on like a show that is not going to get a budget, and they're using their name to get people. Anyways,
but he does direct first 2 episodes.
Yes, yeah,
and I mean, I think visually it's incredible.
Yeah.
I agree,
and I feel like the first episode could almost stand alone as like a Twilight Zone episode.
Totally.
And that's what really hooked me about it. I am really glad they did not lead with the setting of the world first. If they had like a narrator explaining like the state of the world, I would have bounced off so hard. Be like, fuck this, a 14-year-old who doesn't understand oppression wrote this. I'm out of here. Like, but they smartly reveal that later. And I still had to kind of like overcome that a little bit. I was like,
he's probably the hardest pill to swallow in the show. I feel like I have the hardest time with some of that stuff, but
and so like that's like what. But once you get over that, it's like, I mean, it's not perfect. There's a couple things like for some reason this is the one that stands out to me. It's a dumb one to pick, but like, you know that the writer, like when a writer puts a sex scene in something and there's a phrase that leads into the sex scene and it's garbage, you know that writer's really bad at sex talk. And that's the case with this show.
I just think it has a really consistent tone.
Yeah.
That works, and it's a little bit vague, and I think that's by design, because even when they start to expand the world, they don't necessarily connect everything for you, but I actually don't think that they're throwing too many details at you. They are really immersing you in a moment. And that's why when there's some wide shots when they go to the world, as it were, where they came from, that are a little more fishy, and there's some frustrating, but I think the overall simplicity of like the characters embodying that piece of storytelling is really well done.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's epic. I only heard about it like 2 weeks before. I'm sure back in the day I heard someone say Ridley Scott and this guy are developing something. Mm-hmm. But it was like 3 weeks ago that they're like, this thing's coming, and it's not cheap. They're taking a swing here. And so I am going to keep up with it. Like, I've only seen the first 3, so if I watch the next 2 and I'm really not in, cool, but like I'm highly intrigued.
I think that's a good way to put it. Like, they take a swing. Like, they swing for the fences in this show.
Yeah.
Well, and they let it be weird in some ways. Like, I don't love
how
the
weird
android aspect, but I like how clearly you see the psychological reactions of the people around them because of that dynamic.
Well, I think that's what makes the show is the relationships that it sets up are so fucking interesting. Like, there's a character that's in the first episode that the beginning of the second episode reveals some backstory, and you're like, oh shit, now they just got a lot more interesting, and how their relationship works, especially with another individual. Like, it just keeps building. And the first time I saw android blood in this, though, I was worried that it was going to be connected to the Alien franchise. I was like, you're doing it again, Ridley. Fuck you.
Let's not be surprised if it comes back around.
Well, I think the reason it won't is because of what the state of Earth is.
That's true. It's true.
Is like, there's no Wayland Corporation.
But the way that Prometheus is somehow a prequel, it's like they could find a way to cyclically or dimensionally or prehistoric, whatever.
Speaking of Damon Lindelof. But yeah. No, I'm
glad you guys are watching that show because
it is worth the time. Because what I've been hearing about Lovecraft Country is that it's like, it's really good, but don't expect traditional. Like, get ready for just shit to go down, and don't, which is kind of Lovecraft. Lovecraft is not a traditional writer. You know, I actually started reading Lovecraft because back in the day you were like, hey, this is some stuff that we might want to look into adapting or using his ideas. And for this one, I think it is something worth exploring. Yeah. And it's fun. Do you have any others?
No, that's it for me.
Tyler McKinley, since you had Raised by Wolves, did you have any other ones?
I do. I finally finished Persepolis Rising, which is the Expanse book that I've been working on for a fucking long time, since before my son was born. And holy shit, I bought the next one. So we're going to spend the next 4 years on that. I think I was a little... I mean, I was already with the whole series kind of a little bummed out by the choices that were being made. And even for, like, the first half of this book, I was like, I don't know if I care about this story. And the second half changed my mind. I think the second half of the book really brought it around, and I am interested in... I feel like this is, like, characters and events they should have set up 2 books ago, but I like that it's finally there, and I think it's going in a direction that I'm going to like. So I mean, if you haven't tried The Expanse, Leviathan Wakes is the first book, and it's so fucking good.
How many are there?
Good. There's going to be 9, and there's 8 out right now.
I can't do that. I want to. I really want. I just can't.
Hey, you could read it too. You could read it while you're waiting for Game of Thrones to come out. The next book, I mean.
You can finish it twice by then.
Easily my 2 favorite things I've read in the last 5 years are Game of Thrones and Name of the Wind, and both of them have authors that are in purgatory and probably going to die before I get to read more.
That is just that sucks. That sucks so bad.
This sounds bad. I used to be such an avid reader, and it was hard to have time for a while, and then I was doing more audiobooks. I straight up am like turned off to reading even completed fantasy series, which those are incompleted fantasy stories, and people are like, well, these are comparable and they're done, or we know they're going to get done. Brandon Sanderson is effing writing 50 books a year. And I've tried to start Mistborn like 10 times. I'm like, I want to immerse myself in a new world, and I'm so turned off to it right now. Anyway, sorry, I do want to read The Expanse because of what you guys have said. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. What else did I do? I got one thing I started, but I haven't finished that. Oh, I watched the first episode of Doom Patrol. Okay. I had low expectations going in, and I was surprised by how good it looks. Like, I thought it was really low budget. I don't know how much the budget actually was. But yeah, I was expecting it to be hard to watch just because of the nature of it being like a superhero type show with a low budget.
That's kind of how that show Titans was.
I never saw it.
It looked a little too cheap, but I hear good things about Doom Patrol. I have a couple friends who love it.
I've only seen the first episode, and I don't know if they did. I enjoyed my time with it, but I don't know if they did enough with like this series, because like it is supposed to be comedic, but it's not hilarious to me, at least. It's just lighthearted and fun, but like, I don't know. They do some clever things in the first half with like the serious stuff, and then but the second half is like I don't care, and like it's not. I don't feel the like tense drama you're going for at the end of the first episode. Like, But yeah, it's very stylistic. I mean, I haven't seen Brendan Fraser in a while, so it's kind of weird to see him on screen again and not see him because he mostly just he's in a robot body for most of it.
Kind of Vin Dieseling this movie, right?
Yeah, and it works really well. Cool. I think that I mean, my wife hates him. She can't stand to look at him, and I'm like, well, this show, because he's really his voice works really well. I think so. There's some fun ideas. I might continue, but with the other I'm going to try Lovecraft Country, and with Raised by Wolves and stuff. Like I don't have time for another show.
There's a lot of good shit on right now.
So it's like I'll be watching the better stuff. Not that this thing's bad. Like if you want like the genre of like the shitty like superheroes, like the superheroes like aren't really super, like this is definitely a good show for you. So
is it I only know Doom Patrol because I know Gerard Way wrote some arcs of Doom Patrol, like the comic, and I don't know if it's like it was established before then or if he was bringing. I don't know. Anyways, I need to look into that because I am interested in seeing what that is. But I don't know.
And the last thing I'm going to recommend is the band Low Tom, LO_TOM, is a side project of David Bazin. They had an album out before they just released the second one, and the second album is not anything like mind blowing, but it's good. If you don't know who David Bazin is, which most people I feel like do not, he's in a band called Pedro the Lion, and Pedro the Lion is fucking good. It's depressing, but that's the type of music I like, is sad music. But yeah, David Bazin is just fucking incredible. Pedro the Lion's really great, and this is him kind of doing something a little more less depressing, I guess. It's more upbeat. It's more kind of punk rock, not punk rocky, but pop rocky, I guess. Yeah, and his voice is just so good. I mean, his voice is kind of depressing. You hear his voice and you want to weep because it sounds like a man who is sad. But yeah, so I recommend that Low Tom. It's just called LP2. But if you haven't even tried that and if you're like, man, this isn't sad enough for me, Pedro the Lion.
Speaking of sad things, I started watching this movie, and I really want to watch it, and I hear very mixed things. It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Have you watched it?
No, I'm going to watch it.
It's by the same director as what is that movie?
Are you thinking
Eternal Sunshine? Yeah.
So it's the writer from Eternal Sunshine,
okay.
But he is also directing this movie. He wrote and directed this movie. So. Charlie Kaufman.
It is... I kind of know something. I'm not spoiled, but I kind of know some things that kind of go down with it later. And it's supposed to be a little bit bizarre. It's not the most like linear, straight narrative. But man, is it insanely depressing. And it's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And it very first thing you see is a monologue about a girl who's talking about in a very depressing car ride thinking of ending things. And I've been in a very stressed, frustrated mindset for the last few weeks trying to get some other life stuff arranged. And I was like, I can't watch something that is going to make me feel this way right now. Sure. But I do want to experience that storytelling. It's just like how that movie that came out last year about divorce with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
Marriage
Story. I was like, I could totally see parts of my life where there's no way in hell I'm watching this.
Right.
Like this specifically, I was like, I don't need to be tendered this way. But I thought you would have heard of it, and I am going to watch it at some point.
Yeah.
But I was curious.
Check it out.
I'll give some quick recommendations. So, first of all, speaking of superhero shows, The Boys Season 2 dropped last week. So they dropped 3, and now they're dropping weekly. This and a show on Apple I've talked about called Ted Lasso. They both come out on Fridays. I've never been so excited for shows to drop, maybe since Thrones. Like, The Boys is really good. It is a superhero show, but it's an anti-superhero show. It's satirical, but it's serious. It does the craziest shit, and it pushes all the limits. And yeah, I cannot recommend that. That is one I legitimately think you guys would enjoy and cannot recommend enough.
Yeah, I've seen the first season. Is season 2 as good, you think?
I think season 2 is better. Not that I didn't think season 1 dwelled on anything. I thought it let it reveal the terribleness of those people. But you know how Lovecraft Country, and I've heard this about Ozark too, that you think in one episode they've gone through everything they can do in a season. I would not say that's completely the case with The Boys, but I would say it does not make you wait. It continues to push exactly what it is, and there are some things you're always waiting on, but I just think those characters only get better.
I think I'm going to wait till it's all out because I don't want to wait week to week.
Kind of pissing me off. There's a thing right now where fanboys who are mad that they didn't drop the whole season at once are giving it really low ratings, like on every review site. And
If you like something, why would you?
Everyone knows it's good, but they're so mad that they didn't do the Netflix style drop, which I actually kind of like the 3-1-1-1. I think there's shows that I like binging, and there's shows like I've always thought Stranger Things they should do that, which is something Netflix has not really done, except with a couple reality shows this year. If it's a show that has a mystery, not that Boys is a mystery show like Stranger Things, but that builds, I miss having to wait. But you know what's nice is not having to wait 22 effing weeks like Lost. This is 8 episodes, you know? Anyway, but I do like, especially like right now, the way your style of watching things, I'd totally recommend binging it. But I'm just saying, like, I can't recommend. That's probably the best thing I've seen in a long time.
You're like those Dark Souls players who are like, I love running back to the boss. It gives me time to think. I'm like, fuck that. Put the bonfire right in front of the boss door, you pieces of shit.
As someone who does not have the patience for video games, I'm like, that makes sense. I have to do something in the intermittent. I would be like, will you run back to the boss and I will play on my phone for a minute?
Will you? So you're playing this? You're hiring someone to run back to the boss for
I have no patience.
So you can play Temple Run while you get ready for the
It's actually Jetpack Joyride right now, okay? Suck a dick. I'm big on the Jetpack Joyride Reddit, okay? I watched...
You're Jetpack Joyless? That was the fastest thing I could come up with. Fuck.
Yes. Let's see what... I watched Mulan. My sister rented it. I did not pay any money for this. It's not good. It's not bad. The thing I was most confused about is it is not for kids. It's not too violent for kids, but it's not for kids, and it's not really for adults. It's like they tell the story, they do it in a way they can. There's some really good things, and there's some people who made this that and of course, like behind the scenes, it's a little too white, but on screen, like I think there's a lot of awesome Asian actors. So I don't want people to be like, well, we need to boycott this because there's a little bit of racism in it, or they filmed it in the wrong part of China. Like, yeah, Disney needs to answer for that, but I'm like, think about all this representation that we want, and I get that it's only in front of the camera, and that's a problem, but we still can't ignore that. And so I hope it doesn't bomb. Like, I don't think there's any sequel potential. There's no expansive potential. I just think, like, the production is all good. The story itself, it's paced really oddly. I get why they omitted some of the cartoon stuff, but then there's almost no levity. Or it's not too dark, but there's not that. The movie's goofy. And it's so funny that when I watched like Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, I was like, these are too similar to the cartoon. And this one, I was like, if we would have put Eddie Murphy in a dragon costume, I probably would have been fine. So that's an anti-recommendation, like to pay for it. But when it comes out in December, I'm very curious what people think.
Yeah, interesting.
I went on I've been hanging out with someone from Tinder, and they wanted to watch The Conjuring, and I'm a giant pansy, and so is this person because this is a 25-year-old female. And we watched The Conjuring, and she was so scared. And I want to recommend it if you like scary movies because it's really cool. It's very interesting. It's well done. Now they've made like 10 movies within this universe, but I think the first one itself, I'm like, oh, this is why people say this is one of the better modern day horror movies. But anyway, this chick, we're not to that. We're to the level where she could come over and watch a movie. We're not to the level where I was like, I want you to sleep here because you're scared. And I was like, well, if you had to sleep here, or I'll drive you home and you can get an Uber over here. This girl called her mother.
No, Mitchell.
And got picked up.
Oh, no.
So I watched The Conjuring. I recommend it. But then a 25-year-old woman got picked up.
Is this our first recommendation and anti-recommendation in the same thing?
I don't recommend you.
Yeah, would you do it differently if you could go back?
That was the first red flag.
Oh, no.
It might have been enough. I don't know.
We'll see how The Conjuring 2 goes. Like, don't make a decision until you've been through. That's what my mom always told me, is you have to be with someone through all the Conjuring movies, and then you'll know.
Oh. I recommend the movie. I don't recommend the girl. Boys, swipe left on.
No, please.
No. She doesn't know anything about this. I don't think we follow each other on any social media. We usually you exchange phone numbers. We still chat over the app.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
This is not going anywhere. I don't know if it will now. She's like, can we watch Annabelle? And I'll be like, is your mom going to watch it with us? Yes. By the way, I'm a wimp, and I told her, I was like, I will get legitimately freaked out by this. I was able to sleep last night. She texted me this morning. She was like, I couldn't sleep. She's like, I had to sleep in the same bed with my dog, but he kept wagging his tail, and I thought it was someone knocking on the door. And then she's like, I asked my mom if we could sleep in the same bed, and she said no. Oh my God. All right. That was worth it.
I have never, I don't think anyone on this podcast, even like someone that we don't know that we have thrown shade at, I don't know if anyone has been as thoroughly destroyed as Mitchell's Tinder date just was. Like, holy shit.
Dude, I called Scottie Pippen a bitch. And that ousted that.
I mean, we got to this point, okay? Like I said, that was the first red flag.
That is amazing, Mitchell.
Everything else about her does not make her seem like the type of person who would call her mother.
God, every time...
And as
Gwen's face.
my cheeks hurt.
Oh.
Every time every day when I remember that you're not currently writing a script about any of this, it fucking makes my blood boil.
I'm keeping notes, Tyler. I'm keeping notes.
Oh, God, you
Maybe
need
that's
to.
our next step of the podcast, is we are doing a writer's table.
Yes. Oh, God, I need that so badly.
I don't go on these dates from these apps very often because I'm like, but if I do match with someone, we have a good conversation. I also don't wait long to ask them to actually meet in person because I don't want to text you forever, you know? Yeah. So if you're within a good amount of distance, like but if I did just start swiping right on everyone and going on dates with everyone, we would have material pretty damn quick.
I'm sure.
Okay, my last one, this is a real great recommendation, is there's a Beastie Boys documentary on Apple TV. I'm sure you can find a bootleg somewhere. I'm
glad that that's how you lead an Apple TV thing. That's amazing.
I've watched like 4 Apple TV things now and I really like it, but they just don't have enough content to justify any monthly, $5 a month. That's, I don't know. But if you buy an Apple product, I think you get a year.
It's available on,
and they don't have a back catalog.
Yeah.
Apple.
But yeah, watch the Beastie Boys documentary. And my sister just happens to be doing this because she wanted to watch the morning show. But what am I talking about? Oh, the Beastie Boys. Yeah, it's their story now. It's told by them. It's literally actually them on a stage where they did this over a few nights. Did kind of a story thing. So I'm sure that there's some watered down things. And only 2 of the 3 main members are still living.
I thought only one was. I thought 2 had died.
Just one.
Yeah, just Adam Yachts, right?
Yeah. Huh. They are insanely complimentary and memorializing of Adam. But even if it's not, and it has to, there's a lot of things that are factual, but they do their original record, which had 3 or 4 of the songs that I know the best, including Girls, Brass Monkey, Fight for Your Right to Party. They had a really bad breakup with Rick Rubin, who's a huge producer. And so if that might have another side to it, but the rest of it is just really interesting because I didn't realize they fell off the map so bad for a while, and then they kind of came back and had a comeback, and now they're still relevant in just being like the Beastie Boys are always this interesting group, and I just love that behind. I like seeing the story. I can't pretend I listen to a lot of music, but I will watch the documentary. It's like how people don't watch sports, but they love 30 for 30. I don't listen to a lot of music, but if you're gonna make a documentary about a band, I'm in.
That's awesome.
So yeah, if you have any interest in that stuff, I recommend that.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
Gwen, what do you got?
All right, so I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, pseudonym.
That's such a pretentious name.
I know, right?
It
just turned me straight off. Sorry. So it had a really good setup. Premise is that there are 4 parallel worlds, each with a London, and they have different levels of magic. And Black London got eaten alive by its magic. It's gone. And then Red London is a little bit magic. White London is more magical than that. And then there's Gray London, which is ours. And there's 2 guys who can travel between all of them. And it had, not the most interesting magic system within that premise, but it was fine. And then it had really great character development. And the first part of the book, I was rushing through. I kept sneaking away from the kids so I could listen to the book, right? And by the end, I was forcing myself to listen because it just turned generic and pretty boring. I think I was not the right audience for this book. So depending on what people say about the next 2, I might give the rest of the series a chance. But yeah, it was kind of not for me. But yesterday I finished, Justin finished playing The Last of Us 2 for the second time, and I got to watch this one. And I'm not going to talk about it a lot because I'm sure you guys covered everything on the spoiler cast.
Oh, we didn't talk about it.
We only talked about it for 3 hours, so I'm sure there's plenty of ground to...
Okay, well, I've got 6 pages of notes, so buckle up. No, just the only thing I want to say about it, other than I loved it and it was phenomenal storytelling. At the beginning, I was wondering, like, why does this need to be a video game? Like, I'm sure it does need to be a video game, but that's what I wanted to discover through watching this playthrough. And I mean, I can't really, without spoiling it. I mean,
You can spoil it.
just the ego death that happens when going from playing the protagonist to the antagonist. And I loved Abby. Like, she was the better person, you know? But yeah, that was like, I had believed people when they said video games are an art form on their own. I just hadn't experienced it to this degree. So I really appreciated that aspect of this game.
Well, I think like specifically for these games, like especially like Naughty Dog games, like those are games that have spent a long time trying to be movies. I mean, that was like the original Uncharted games were like, this is like playing an Indiana Jones movie or whatever. Yeah. And like, yeah, Last of Us 2 really feels like the culmination of like incredible cinematic storytelling while also playing on all the strengths of like video games, like you're saying.
I mean, it wouldn't have been. I mean, it could have been a fine book. It could have been a fine movie, but it was an excellent video game.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's
God,
it.
am I going to play Last of Us 2 again this week? I don't have the time, but I want
leftovers
to.
on one TV and Last of Us 2 on the other. Yeah.
I'm reading Watchmen during the loading screens while Mitchell is running to the next fight, and I'm reading.
Yeah, like, you want me to run to the next spot for you?
Well, I kept getting bored during the, like, when Abby's working her way up the ferry and killing all the zombies. I got bored during that. I'm like, I am not here for this. I am here for the
systemic
story.
stuff is
the boat that you find the crossbow on.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
as Abby.
Yeah, I ran out of ammo my first time through that, and I got to the upper deck. I was like, shit! And I just was running around in circles trying to find.
How did you kill the Shambler without any
I
ammo?
didn't. I ran away and I lured them all down to the lower deck, ran around them, and ran to the door and opened it.
It's amazing.
Justin, do you have some recommendations for us?
I do. I'll be pretty quick. I started finally watching Tiger King. I know that's old news at this point, but I'm couple episodes into that, and holy shit, I had no idea how crazy it gets. I've heard it got crazy, but it is not the kind of crazy I was expecting. Yeah, so that's a good time. If you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and check that out.
Now you'll be ready for Dancing with the Stars.
Oh
Carol
God,
Baskin.
I cannot believe that
that's
shit.
Are you serious?
And there's a movie with Kate McKinnon who's going to play her. But yes,
my
she's
gosh.
legitimately going to be on Dancing with the Stars next
Why
week.
would you do that to
The
yourself?
last episode I watched was the one where they introduced the whole idea that she killed her husband and fed him to the tigers. Like, that was the...
And the evidence doesn't get in it. It's we're pretty sure she did it.
Now I might actually have to watch that.
I mean,
I haven't watched Dancing with the Stars since I was, like, in junior high.
I'm going to watch her intro package for sure. Sorry,
Holy
but
cow.
yeah, it just keeps getting crazier. I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
it's fun.
it's been fun. And then the other thing that I wanted to recommend is another YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, it's called Internet Comment Etiquette, and this is it's made by a guy named Eric Hofstad, who he has been involved with Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know if he's a writer or if he was just on a couple episodes, but he's listed on IMDb as American comedian writer or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, the premise of this channel is Eric. He does like these videos where he he presents like all of these like mainstream topics of like the week or the month or whatever, and like talks about other YouTube videos, and like is trying to teach people how to be nice to other people while they're interacting with others through comment sections online. Like, that's kind of like the main thing that he does, but it's fucking hilarious. Like, it's so great. And he even like, I'm going to even recommend his in-video advertising that he does, because he writes like 10-minute like short movies to advertise like like the weekly advertising, like if he's doing Manscaped or whatever it is for the week, like he does like a full short film for it basically and works it into his video for the week. But the one that I'm trying to think, the one that I watched recently, he did a video about Karens, which was hilarious. And he kind of got famous, just to kind of like give you an idea of sort of what he does. Like his first videos that he posted way back that I haven't watched yet, but his video was like gardening on salvia, which is like a hallucinogenic plant. So that was like one of his first videos that he did, and he's done this internet comment etiquette thing for quite a while. But he posted one yesterday, I think, or earlier today that I watched, and it's just really, really funny. I think Tyler, I think you both would really like his comedy. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out. Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, Justin. That sounds really good. I'm so excited for it. Okay. We'll be back. Thanks for listening to the Rewatchers on the podcast. We'll be back next week to watch Psycho. And there were no editing mistakes made here. There's no... Yeah.
Oh, God. This is worse.
Should we try again? Or is this
No! Let's just cut. Let's kill it.
Everyone say your names.
This has been Mitchell Marshall.
Tyler McKinley.
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler Harris.
Justin Hammer.
Bye.
I'm glad in the end of that you revealed the full name of our podcast that we've never said, which is Rewatchers on the Podcast.